Now, the third part of our talk about editing is going to concentrate on citations. At the end, I'm going to talk a little bit about proofreading. Make sure with your citations that you are using the correct system and that you know how to use footnotes. There's details at the top of Word. Just make sure you know how to use that device, that system. Also check that as far as your university or school is concerned, you're using the correct format. And if you are, then you are accurately and clearly going to attribute credit to the authors of sources that you have referenced. If you get it wrong, you are going to cause confusion, or worse, you're going to wrongly attribute a source. Let's get this very clear. Your academic work is part of a giant tapestry of achievement. And you need to acknowledge where your contribution is in that wider tapestry. Misquoting or fudging your reference, that's a bit like academic theft at worst, or carelessness at best. Somebody's career might rest on the words that you are quoting or misquoting. So it is your duty to get them right and to give credit where credit is due. References also show how widely you have read or researched in your subject. Getting the citations right is good housekeeping, but if you get the referencing wrong, you stand a good chance of losing marks, of plagiarizing information, and of being downright rude. In various universities and various departments and courses, different referencing systems are employed, so it is worth checking course handbooks and course requirements before you move forward. The Harvard system is by far the most used method at the moment, but there are others, so you just need to check things like the Chicago Manual and so on. Essentially, all referencing systems are about the order in which citations are arranged: author, edition, publisher, title, date and place of publication. For example here, we've got two editions, both published by Penguin, of A Passage to India. And the pagination in both is different. So you have to be careful. In terms of quotation, we've got two approaches. The first is direct reporting, direct quotation, and the second is reporting or paraphrasing. Be careful of paraphrasing, again, because of the danger of plagiarism. A word of warning, actually, in the UK, we think it's a bit dodgy to use too many direct quotations. We would prefer that you put things into your own words to explain how and why your views might agree with or might contradict the views already expressed by other people. A good quotation, if you use it, is integrated into the text, is brief, and relates to your argument. A good quotation must be interpreted and explained within the context of what you are saying. Remember to use quotation marks around anything that you actually quote. You may also be required to indent, to work on a new line, to indent your text from the margin. But if you are quoting, use exactly the words that the author used. Use exactly the words and the punctuation. If you omit something, add 3 little dots. Or if you want to add something, you add it in square brackets. There are 3 definitions which I think are always worth noting. I was doing some proofreading for a friend from the United Arab Emirates a short while ago, and I was surprised that he didn't know what ibid meant. So here are my 3 quick definitions. Anon refers to somebody whose name you don't know, who might have written something. Anon, anonymous. Ibid. You can only use ibid really, to refer to something you've already quoted, if indeed you have just quoted that. So in your footnotes, let's say you were quoting from King Lear, and then you chose to quote again, you could in fact use the term Ibid to refer to Lear, but not if in the meantime you've made a reference to Jane Austen. That would not be appropriate. Et al. Is the third one. Et al. Refers to the others. So if you are referring to an article which was written by a number of people, the first time you refer to it, you detail all their names, but the second time you may just wish to reference the first name, et al., and refer to the others by implication. If you quote, you generally need to reference the paper number and therefore, if necessary, the edition of the work you are using. Again, we refer to Passage to India. The Harvard system is very clear. Chapter first, then book, then author, and finally the page. With journals, exactly the same system is used. The article, here we are, we've got an article, then the journal, title, volume, and finally the page, here, 127. All reference sources need to be cited also in the bibliography. If you've used other material, these too need to be referenced. Radio, TV programs, the internet, the lot. You may not have all the information about the program makers, but cite what you can and be consistent in the way that you arrange the details. Now, I just want to squeeze in a word or two about proofreading before I finish. I return to this later, but for now, can I urge you to look at two things. The first is the comma splice, which is used in other languages, but not in English. This is when two independent clauses are separated by a comma. It is almost midnight. She could not stay beyond 12, reference Cinderella. The trick is to add a conjunction between the two phrases, not a comma. In this case, you might add the word but. It was almost midnight, but she could not stay beyond 12. And the reason I mention this is because it is different in English. The second point is the word there. There is, there were, there are. There is, there is a belief that editing is boring. This would be better written where we take out the there. Many people believe that editing is boring. Some people, a few people, many people. I hope I'm demonstrating that editing is anything but boring. Editing is extraordinarily exciting. Oh, and just one last thing. If you want to check your spelling, one clever idea, if you've got the time, is to read your text backwards. This will mean that peculiar spellings tend to stick out, and you're not then looking at the sense of the sentence. You're looking at the details of the spelling. Of course, this will not identify homophones like quite or there. Anyway, there we are, and this is Tim.